Hey there, welcome to day 30 of our free 30-day Get Up and Go Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. And we're going to have a day 31, just to let you know right up front. I'll be back tomorrow, and we will talk about the transformation. We'll talk about a couple other things, and we'll share one final tool that can help you moving forward with any change or challenge that you face in your life. But today what we're going to do, and I like to do this the 30th of every day or the end of every challenge, is to just run through, do a quick summary and review of course, the SOAP framework, and because that's our main framework, but all the other things that we talked about and covered today. So my little cow timer is taking a break. He's not going to get set today. Not that I've remembered to set him at all this month. I think twice I used him, and both times I ran over anyway. So today, what do we cover? What is this SOAP framework, and how can we use it to impact our life? Well, of course, it's a process, a simple 4-step process, like everything else if we want to keep our life simple and make life work for us instead of struggling. It's a simple 4-step process to help us get through any change or challenge or obstacle or setback or failure or problem that comes our way. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to be able to do that on autopilot? Who doesn't want to automatically, as easy as breathing, deal with the majority of changes and challenges that come our way, right? Some of them, and do it on a subconscious level. The vast majority of the challenges and changes and things that we have to deal with, we can deal with on a subconscious level, as easy as breathing, because they don't require our mental, conscious faculties to disseminate and go through and really come up with solutions and really choose at what has to be done. Now, I will say there's big things that come into every one of our lives that we do need to consciously, again, apply the SOAP framework to deal with the situation or the solution. Lose a job, get a job. Lose a relationship, start a relationship. Changes in your family, changes in your geographic location, things like COVID pandemics, things that are going on outside of us, political things, changes at work, changes at home, any kind of change that requires our conscious effort. We're going to engage all of our self, including our conscious and subconscious mind. We're going to use all these tools that we talked about and everything we need, everything at our disposal, and then kind of some that we didn't talk about, but you know you've got in your toolbox to come up with the best possible solution to the problem or the challenge or the obstacle or the setback that we're facing at any given time. So let's just do a quick review of what we talked about, the tools we used, and then I will share. I did this in August for a private coaching student. I broke down the different tools that we use for the S, the O, the A, the P, and then the ones that we use for all of them for the other 6 areas and aspects of our life. So you've always got at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and some of these are multiple tools, 9 to 10 tools to apply to any area or aspect of the SOAP framework to help you to make sure that it works for you. So what do we talk about? We spent the first 9 days, I know, crazy on a 30-day challenge, to spend almost 1/3 of it building the foundation, building a solid foundation. Why? Because if you build your house on sand, if you build your house on a mudslide, landslide zone, guess what? Chances are your house is going to shift, and it's not going to necessarily settle in the beautiful way that you built it in the first place. The same is true of anything in our life. Our lives, our goals, our objectives, the things that we want in our life, they need to be built on a solid foundation, well, usually of us loving ourselves, etc., but a solid foundation. So we spent the first 9 days building that foundation. We talked about, we had the welcome, and I told you how the challenge was going to work. Every day, 10 minutes or less, we would have a discussion about the topic of the day. Then we would have a tool that we were using, and we talk about how to apply that tool, maybe give some examples about that. And then we would have an action item, something that you needed to go do every single day. Why do I ask you to do something every single day? On purpose, because I want you to form a new habit of taking action on something that you decide every single day. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but it has to be something. Whenever we make a decision, we never want to leave the scene of that decision without taking some sort of action. Even if it's just scheduling in your schedule that you're going to follow up or make a call or look at something online, we have to do something to reinforce our commitment to our decision. So we talked about how the challenge was going to work. Day 2, we talked about WIIFU. What's in it for you? Why the heck do you even want to do a challenge, much less this challenge? Day 3, we talked about our wants and our needs and our desires, and we talked about how we can switch don't wants into wants, because the vast majority of us understand clearly what we don't want. We understand what we don't want because, believe it or not, as hard as it is to swallow, the negatives and the bad things that happen in our life, the things that we don't want, those are the things that motivate us to action, that cause us to change. We don't change if we're perfectly comfortable. We don't change if we're perfectly happy. We don't make any changes if we're content and satisfied with what's going on in our life right now. It takes some kind of a pain or a don't want or an outside impact for us to decide to take any action or move. So we need to know what the things are that we want, and sometimes it's easier to identify what we don't want in order to identify what we do want. Day 4, we talked about the 9 areas and aspects of our life. Of course, you can divide your life into any way you want. My friend Victoria Gallagher, who's got a hypnosis app, has 6 areas of life. I think she does mind, lifestyle, spirituality, career, health, maybe not wisdom, that mind. And she's got one more area. So she uses 6. I use 7 up until this year in April, when I added 9 and 10, which were communication and confidence. Prior to that, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution. That is how I framed all my planning and all my organizing for my goals, my objectives for my life, for my businesses. I have a different framework for my businesses, but for my life and for what's most important to me, I always break it down into those 7 to 9 things, and I have my goals set up annually, and then I break those down into tiny bite-sized pieces so that I know every day what can I do that will move me toward that end goal that I want by the end of the year, or that I want in 5 years or 10 years. So we talked about those areas, and then on day we ranked those. We learned about prioritization. What is the most important to you right now of those 9 areas? Number them 1 through 9, what's most important to you. And so number 1 is my most important area. I don't know what it was. I'd have to go back and look. Let me go back and look. It's kind of curious now. So I said that my number 1 was physical. Is it always? No, but it just happened to be it was actually 4th in August, and number 1 in December. It's going to be number 1 in January too, I already know. So we ranked 1 through 9. What is our most important area of our or aspect that we need to pay attention to in our life right now? And it maybe for a lot of people it was probably relationships, because December is a month about family and holidays and celebrations and getting together, and it brings up a lot of relationship things for us. So maybe relationships was number 1 for you. For me, it was physical. So then after that, we on day 5 rated each of those 9 areas and aspects of our life on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being really, really hurting, I need some work in this area. 10 being awesome, the ultimate, the best I could possibly expect in this particular area or aspect of my life. So if I was a 10 physically, same as like the movie 10, you would define that for you. We did that with each of the different areas. On day 6, we did the 7 why exercise to really understand what some of our drivers are, followed by day 7, where we discussed and we uncovered our core values. After that, we discussed and we reviewed and we looked at your change reaction, how you normally handle and deal with changes, challenges, obstacles, setbacks, failures, problems, etc. And then on day 9, we talked about changing your reaction. How do we go about changing our reaction? Which led us to, of course, day 10, and finally, the SOAP framework. We did an overview of the SOAP framework on day 10. It took us 10 days to do the foundational things. Why? Always have to build things on a solid foundation. So then we jumped right in on day 11. Day 11, 12, 13, and 14, we went through the SOAP framework with respect to financial health. I picked a financial goal. I think it was Christmas money, a couple $1,000 I wanted for Christmas money this year, and I applied the SOAP framework to that challenge, that problem. I don't have the money, I want the money. How am I going to get the money? The S of that, we used the journalistic framework, who, what, where, when, why, tool to get at and describe our current situation, our current story, versus our desired story, the story or situation we wanted to have. That creates a gap, and the rest of the SOAP framework we use to fill in that gap over the next 3 days. We use brainstorming to come up with options. We then use the urine analysis to analyze those options so we could pick the action we wanted to take right away. We took that action, and then the P for our financial was we used the lifeline exercise to talk about different things and areas in our life. That is still one of my all-time favorite exercises. Don't use it a ton, but when I do, it really shows me different patterns and connections and things that are going on with me that I probably don't see if I weren't to sit down and do that little exercise and look at things and look for relationships and things that were related. So then on day 15, 16, 17, and 18, we talked about the area and aspect of our life that has to do with relationships, and we broke it down with the S, the O, the A, and the P. For the S, we did the imaginary friend exercise. For the O, we did the Power Vision movie exercise. For the A, we did the nominal group technique, and then we might have done 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 then, but I don't remember. And then for the P, we talked about processes, routines, habits, systems, procedures, whatever you want to call it, something that you do over and over again and you make it automatic. We talked about that with respect to relationships. Then on day 19, 20, 21, and 22, we talked about our physical health and our physical bodies and our physical beingness with respect to the SOAP framework. For the S, our tool was storyboarding and to create your own story. For our O, it was visualization and imagination. For the A, the physical A, it was the head, heart, intuition tool. And for the PP, the physical progress, it was measurement. How do we measure? How do we know if we're moving toward what we want or away from what we want? On day 23, we applied all 4 to the area of emotions, and we used the emotional guidance system as our tool. Let me grab that. If you remember this, you can Google and print out your own favorite picture or list. I, for the longest time, just used a list of the names of the emotions, and then I found this one, and it's a little bit easier and more colorful and to remember, so I started using this one. I just stick it in my book from time to time so that we have it when we get to the emotional guidance system and emotional SOAP. On mental SOAP, our tool was affirmations or affirmations. And I finally found my graphic yesterday when I was talking about something else about affirmations. Affirmations. I am blank is an affirmation. Why is it so easy blank for me to blank is one form of affirmation. How can I blank is another form of affirmation. And then you are blank is a bonus one that I learned from, I don't remember where I originally learned it, but I know Victoria Gallagher, again, love her hypnosis stuff, does that when she does affirmation. She does affirmation and meditations in addition to hypnosis sessions on her app. And so I remembered that, oh yeah, you can say affirmations in the I am form, or you can also add power by saying you are, because sometimes that gets through, like the how can I, or why is it so easy for me to be a billionaire? I am a billionaire. Why is it so easy for me to be a billionaire? How can I be a better billionaire? Whatever it is. Or you are a billionaire. Like that example, because very few of us are billionaires. So it's one of those that many people want to be, but it's not believable when we just say I'm a billionaire, because your brain immediately says, yeah, no, not so much. So that was our mental mindset on day 24. Day 25, we did spiritual SOAP, S-O-A-P. We applied the SOAP framework to a spiritual aspect of our life, and we used meditation. Meditation, again, can be as complicated or as simple as you want. To me, meditation is focusing on my breathing and clearing my mind so that my mind can be opened up to whatever it is that I want to find solutions for. Day 26, we talked about and applied the SOAP framework to confidence, and our tool was hypnosis. Day 27, we talked about the area of contribution, and what I like about this area of our life is that it's different in that all the other areas and aspects of our life are really internally driven and internally focused, but contribution is how are we impacting the world or other people or things outside of us? You might argue, well, relationships deal with outside of us. Well, yeah, but the most important relationship is the relationship with yourself. So even though relationships often involve other people, they don't always. But contribution always involves something outside of us. So for our tool was mantra, motto, code of conduct, and again, there's a bunch of tools here, and we apply them to the S, the O, the A, and the P. What you stand for, what you stand against, where you draw that line in the sand. Your slogan, if you were a business, what would your slogan be? And again, I shared mine. Day 28, we talked about communication soap, and our tool that we used was gratitude, thankfulness, appreciation, and the power of that when we apply it to the S, the O, the A, and the P. Yesterday we talked about all different types of frameworks. The SOAP framework is, of course, one of those frameworks and one of my favorite frameworks. We talked about the elements of creating a strategic framework for yourself or for your business or for your life. And then we talked about a bunch of the other tools and techniques and frameworks and acronyms and models and things that we've used throughout the challenge. And then I reminded you to call upon all those that you've been exposed to in your life, because each and every one of us have been exposed to and seen and heard and learned hundreds, if not thousands, of different tools and things that we could use to make our life a whole lot easier. So today we just ran through the SOAP framework. Days 1 through 9 we did the foundations. We didn't even talk about the same SOAP framework. Day 10 we talked about the SOAP framework and introduced it. 11 through 28 we broke down the SOAP framework in each of the 9 areas and aspects of our life, and we applied it either one day at a time for physical, relationships, and financial, and for the other 6 areas we applied it, all 4 tools in one day, or all 4 SOAPs in one day. So my question for you is, what do you have for questions? What do you want to see next? What do you want to do next? I am at a decision point with respect to the Get Up and Go Challenge for 2022. I don't know if I'm going to continue it or not, so I'd like some feedback on that. I may or may not. It'll depend how I feel in the beginning of 2022. I usually take January off, and then depending on how January felt, literally how it felt to me, and last year it felt terrible, so I said, there's no way this isn't over. The way I feel isn't over. I need to continue to get up and go. We're going to do it for 2021. And then I got involved in some other coaching on communication, core skills, and confidence. And so I thought, well, I'm going to add those because I think they're powerful foundational things. And I always want to share foundational things. And we did that. So I'd love to know what you think, what your questions are. And tomorrow I will see you with our bonus day, our transformation day. And we'll talk about transformation and the impact that the SOAP framework can have and has had on others as well as on me. Have an amazing day. But actually, the most important transformation is yours, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. And if you have any questions, please, please, please ask, get a hold of me, message me, direct message me, whatever it takes, so that we can make sure that you get your questions answered. I don't want anyone to leave the challenge, especially after 30, 31 days, and still have questions. If you have a question, guess what? I guarantee somebody else has the question, and they're just being too afraid to ask. So ask those questions, hit me up, and I will be with you tomorrow. Bye.